It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
I win! They fucking lose!
Welcome, everybody, to SJJMAS number 8 with Elliott and everybody's favourite respectable lady of the internet, lady of the night, Claire Cole. Thanks for coming, both of you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Steve.
The lady of secular Quranism.
Every time.
So, Elliott, it's been a year, bro.
Yes. Very
an entire year. In that year, I have visited the United States of America. I was back on the West Coast. But don't feel bad, I didn't meet up with anybody. It's actually just too much. It feels like too much effort. You know, you go all that way.
Yeah. No, I understand. You were down south, though, right?
Went to Vegas, then went to LA.
You dropped in on Luke?
Around. No, like I say, when I end up there, you know, you're there for a limited amount of time, a strict itinerary, and it just feels like too much to try and hit people up.
Do you rent a car or do you do trains and buses and things?
No, I rent and I drive. Yeah, had a Toyota RAV4. It's cool.
Okay. So you're comfortable driving in America, even though it's the different side of the road?
I think at first, no. Obviously, it's a little scary, but actually, I like it better than driving over here. Obviously, I'm a very experienced driver now because I drive thousands of miles delivering packages.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, or we have so much to talk about. So I don't know, like, what would be the best thing to dive in on. I guess I would let you drive, but
what do you think to my people don't want this to be like an investing stream or anything like that. They had those, but what do you think of my new arc? Were you expecting it? It's complete.
The only question I have is, so a year or two ago we were having these discussions about ADD, and do you still feel as though you suffer from this condition, or has your getting out into the world and working sort of swept that notion away?
No, I'm definitely ADHD.
AD.
You know, emphasis on the hyperactive, not the attention deficit. Is you know, there's ADD and then there's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. It's always been a trait of mine. Like I said, from school time. You know, I was a kid with the, you know, couldn't sit still, all this type of stuff. I've always had to have one focus, and if I have a focus that I'm interested in, I can zone in on it, you know, like a diamond, you know, like a laser, and do that thing. If it's a straightforward path. If I don't have that, and that's why I've been able to focus in on this kind of delivery job lark, because There's almost no hurdles to getting into it. It's literally no interviews. It's via your phone. You sign up automatically. Even it's all automated, and then you're just receiving offers of work. You never interact with a boss or anything. So there's no hurdles. So I've been able to access something that has unlimited work available with zero hurdles. So I can just laser focus in on it.
Well, do you think that, just the fact that you're out and about and moving around, you're just naturally energetic is all that's going on, and that this idea that you need to sit still in your seat is just sort of an arbitrary imposition on from society that says, you need to sit in your seat. If you don't, you have a problem. I don't know.
You're suspicious of the ADHD diagnosis.
I am. I'm still suspicious. But we don't have to go into it too far. I was just curious because, if you're not,
I don't
doing
think Luke's
something, you're not
ADHD.
engaged, then your mind starts to wander and your body starts to shiver.
I don't think Luke's ADHD. I mean, come on, bro.
I don't either. I
He
think
spends 4 hours on a stream with organization, going through topics and stuff. I mean I suppose I sit here on streams, but they tend to be quite chaotic. It's different to Luke.
Well, all right. I agree. I don't think it looks I'm a ADHD skeptic anyway.
Yes.
And, I sort of had this conversation with you and with Luke, and, I just say something once. Why say it again?
Yes.
Psycho killer. Yeah.
Get the meds, you Ollie says, real Harvey Price there. I've tried, bro. I'm on the waiting list for the meds. I don't know if I went and I got, I mean, as a kid, I was diagnosed, but over here, because I never accessed the meds because I ended up doing sports and I ended up in a sport where you get drug tested. I never accessed the meds. So now as an adult post 16, you have to get re-diagnosed. Our country just happens to be in a situation where there is no medical services available, and they put you on a waiting list of about 7 years. So that was a year and a half ago.
Hey, tell me this. Remember, say 4 or 5 years ago when there was, when Jen and David were actively streaming and OV was a frequent guest, and I used to berate OV and tell him to get a job and just engage with anything.
I remember.
He'd start feeling better. And of course, he didn't want to sort of cuck to Zog and all sorts of things, and there's really no persuading him, and here you are, you having done this, gotten a job. It's not terribly high level, but it sort of dips your toe into just working in the real world, and there's a certain sense of
second job, by the way.
Second
job. It's actually a second, a third, and a fourth, because I have my normie job. I'm a lifeguard. I do that during the day, and then this is all extra. This is via a phone where there's unlimited labor available. Honestly, I feel like I've hacked. I was talking to Jord in a real way. I mean, it's.
I listened to that. I listened to George yesterday. You and George yesterday. It was great. It was very interesting.
I feel like I've hacked the simulation in a way. You go through life. I think you go through stages of life, and you don't realize that you're just playing on level 1, and there might be other levels to the game until you access the next one, and you're like, I've completed level 1. I've moved up, and there's this other level that I now see things to accomplish and stuff, and it's basically through turning my attention to this new opportunity that everybody hates, which all the immigrants are taking advantage of, which is this gig economy work. But really, the thing that I want to get across to Zoomers, because it's really for Zoomers. I mean, I wouldn't imagine it would be good for somebody like you, who'd probably be, belittling at your stage in life to go and start delivering pizzas. But to me, and other Zoomers, you know, you literally have this access to zero hurdles work, and there's as much of it as you want. You can sign up for all the apps at once: Amazon, Uber Eats, Just Eat, Deliveroo, all of them, and you can just work. You know, you can work yourself to death if you want.
Yeah, I think that type of work is you're not like in a big city, and so driving really isn't a hassle. It doesn't sound like, I'm guessing here, but to do that work in a city, just driving even 8 blocks, it means several traffic lights, and then parking hassles and double parking and hazard lights, and it's not a stress-free experience. Very stressful.
Sure.
I think that work would be a lot more stressful. And then I think there's just a bigger collection of Looney Tunes of people that could, do you harm when you show up at their door. I don't know. I think it's different.
But somebody does the work, Elliott.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I think, anyway, here, like a lot of people getting, my experience with having food delivered, which is almost none, is by the time it gets here, it's ice cold. You know? And it's extra expensive, and it's just deeply dissatisfying. So, but anyway,
Yeah, I wouldn't be a customer either.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be a customer. The main reason is it takes a long time, like you say, probably in your area, the traffic about that. But these youths who are doing the work, they won't be just taking your order. They won't be the best type of workers. They'll probably get your order, go and pick another one up, and then take 2 at once, which is like hacking the system. And therefore, that's why your burger takes an hour instead of 10 minutes.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've stopped ordering. I make all my own food. The prices of restaurant food have completely exploded here. It's just not worth it anymore. And I've also noticed yesterday that there's so many Mexican restaurants now, and you'd think they'd have to be good, right? But there would be competition or something, and they're all identical, and they're all terrible. They're just terrible. I did venture outside yesterday, and I had to stop and get something to eat. It was such a depressing, terrible experience.
I would never eat out, and this sounds bad, I suppose, but I'm now in the mindset. I'm so engrossed in this grind mindset that I won't waste $1, Elliott. I won't give another man $1. I even cancelled my X subscription because I'm like, that money, I'm collecting those dollars now. I'm not into wasting them. And most people don't understand how much money they waste. If you go and get a coffee every day, 5 days a week, that's $5 a day, $25 a week. You know, this adds up.
$100 a month, right there.
Yeah.
On a cup of coffee that you can make for 50 cents at home. No, I agree. Who was it? One of the big tycoons at the turn of the century, Rockefeller, or one of those guys. You know, they were worth effectively billions in today's dollars, right?
Yeah.
They would barely tip. They were just misers to the core. You know?
Sure. 100%.
And you think, well, wouldn't they loosen up a bit? But they don't. It's because it's that mindset that allowed them to accumulate the money in the first place. And they, a zebra can't change its spots. But so, sounds like you've got the correct orientation to become the next, not Warren Buffett, but you could be hosting those investment podcasts that you get links for all the time. But we have not that I want to talk about investments, but
no,
I think there's a bubble brewing here that's just to beat the band. I would be terrified to invest right now. For what it's worth.
Well, what I would say to you then is prepare for the bubble to collapse. Prepare for that opportunity. If that's what you think, like I tell, I think people should invest in what they know. If you're seeing something that you can see on the horizon, then prepare for that, because the opportunity will come and like you missed the last one. To be fair to you, in April, that was a big pullback. That was a big correction. That's where I made a load of money by investing right on that dip, because I could see it was Trump playing the art of the deal. He didn't mean it. You know, I'm going to put 100 and 200% tariffs on China. God, it was obvious it was a bluff. You know, but the markets panicked. You listen to all the traditional finance people, and they thought that the sky was falling. This time it's different. They were saying, you know, this is the end of the financial system as we knew it, and so I just put my money in.
Okay, so on that point, let's loop Claire in here.
Yes.
So that herd mentality, right? So Claire interviewed that boomer last week. Well, I forgot his name. What was his name, Claire?
E. Michael Jones.
No, not that boomer.
No, the other boomer.
The other boomer.
Mark Parker.
Yes. He really triggered me. And you know why? It's because I've been dipping back into NPR, and you asked what NPR is National Public Radio, and it's sort of the gatekeeping radio channel for the higher IQ, well offset, virtue signaling liberal. Right. This is where they get their
Like
data.
Radio 4.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this, and I think that's probably what the equivalent is. And if you listen to NPR here, 4 out of 5 stories is either directly about Trump and how much we hate him, or indirectly about Trump and how much we hate him. You know. So let me give you an example. I'm listening to one story, and it's about this economist who was doing this economic experiment in Uganda, right? Uganda in Africa, you know, complete ocean away. And basically, they seeded this bank for poor people to be able to get loans and open up small businesses. You know, this is a model that's happens all the time. People really see this, you know, as a way to sort of elevate Africa one way or another. And so this guy had a goat herding business. And so he took out a loan, bought some goats, and did well, but he wouldn't take out another loan. And so they asked him why he wasn't taking out another loan. Well, apparently, your average person in Uganda is living on USAID money that Trump cut with Elon back in the beginning. Remember that? You probably didn't remember it, but remember USAID?
He defunded it, right?
He defunded it, yeah. So this is sort of a influence. That's how the U.S. kind of spreads its influence in parts of the world. It dumps money into various cultures and so forth. So the guy said, you know, because Trump cut the money, the average Uganda didn't have any money, therefore they couldn't buy goats, and therefore he didn't want to take out a loan. So even that story, which seemingly started off to not be about Trump, ended up being about Trump. Why do I bring this up? It's because this is how, his name was Mark, right? The boomer?
Yes, Mark Parker.
Yeah. So this is the steady diet of information that he and his set are fed every day, right? And, you know, I wrote down some notes. I'm not going to go through them, but if you look at some of the things he said, some of them are just, his worldview is like, everything is fine. It's great, except for these few isolated bad actors, you know? These are the people messing things up. He did not, it's like your average Zoomer white guy in his 20s, you know, is just painted with this one brush, and they're all evil, scheming racists and so forth. And he exuded that worldview. And you could just hear the NPR talking points coming out of the radio through his head and out his mouth. He didn't really seem like he was, you know, actually thinking and engaging. It just, when you can tell people are alive and present and sort of interacting authentically and spontaneously. And then
He's
you
an
have other people that are
NPC.
just talking book. Hmm?
He's an
Yes,
NPC.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sure he'd be
Non-play
very
character.
offended if you called him that because he thinks he's, politically engaged and politically active, and he went to the No Kings demo.
right, he's making the various. He does all the correct.
Exactly.
And this is what he does, as does Khalid. It's this sort of liberal piety, this piety as a weapon thing, where it's like, I like Sam Harris, and we're just so lovey-dovey, and he's an atheist, and I'm a Christian, but we can talk to each other, and we're just so good and rich and moral, and it's just all these other people that don't get it, and it's sort of this really weird, underhanded aggression, and it just, when I hear it, I feel like I'm aggressed upon. This is why Khalid triggers me so much, and this is why Mark triggered me.
But surely he's engaged. Is it fair to call him an NPC when he's kind of waging his
He's a
jihad?
semi-NPC. Like, he's obviously a smart guy. He's obviously competent at whatever he does, and I'm sure he's, pretty comfortable. He's done well for himself. He probably has a couple of investment properties. So he has some sort of passive income, and he drives to Costco in San Diego and loads up his cart with all kinds of nice stuff. And he gets into his electric car, and he doesn't create any carbon when he goes home. And he's just so great. He's just such a perfect man. There's this piety and that just rattles me to my core. He doesn't have this effect on you?
You didn't even listen to it, I bet.
I did. I listened to it twice, and I took notes. Notes.
I mean, Stephen didn't listen to it.
No, I did. I left a comment. We have to be aware. We're on we're not having a private conversation, and like there's an audience here who haven't watched it at all. So we have to set it up. There's this guy in America who, how would you describe him? He has Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah.
Yes, I would say that. And a liberal, and somebody who watches NPR, National Public Radio, which is a kind of American radio, like the equivalent of BBC Radio 4 for them.
But isn't it just a typical California boomer mindset to see that there's, just to have all the liberal priors that are in their brain, and they can't see, it's the type of person who looks at even as much as I think badly of Nick Fuentes, they look at Nick Fuentes on a mainstream platform and they can't understand how we've come to this point. They can't even grasp why anybody could even be giving him the time of day, and they just they think it's an anathema to society. They're fundamentally disconnected from the deep rooted problems in society that this generation faces, so they just can't even begin to understand where somebody as politically obnoxious as Nick Fuentes can exist.
It's so lower class. That's the essence to extract from this. It's too lower class for them. It's beneath their notice until suddenly it's in their face. I mean, don't you think, Elliott, that's a reason? It's just beneath their notice. The people who like Nick Fuentes, they don't know anybody who think like that. Why would they?
I heard a guy locally, and he talked about San Francisco, but probably California generally. And he said the attitude here is, well, I've got mine, and life in the wild is just so difficult for so many people. And if someone like him who's got his, right, they don't even want to entertain the notion. They don't want to even contemplate what it would be to not have their position, so they block it out. They can't hear. No, and this is after years of me. I haven't done it in years now, but I used to bicker frantically on Facebook, trying to convey a simple point that was clearly rooted in objective evidence and data and so forth, and just no input. There's no holes in which that information can go in. So yes, but it's the low. So yes, a lot of these people who are on the margins are actually low class, and they have some very unsavory habits, and this further cements their conviction about being opposed to them. So I don't know, but it just
There's
seemed
an
like
echo of Luke Ford saying marginalised people in a marginalised movement, and suddenly it's mainstream. You've got your dissident right president at last.
Well, no, not necessarily. Trump isn't the distant right president. Nick Fuentes is a whole nother category from Trump. But if these boomers can't understand, like you say, right, if they can't understand, they can't even begin to accept that Trump is a president, then somebody like Nick Fuentes is getting mainstream coverage, who represents a fundamental, disconnected, deracinated generation of people who feel like the system does not represent them anymore, and they're never going to get this. They're never going to get this. And there's an entire generation there who feel like this, and they're becoming a politically active generation. Nick Fuentes is 28 now.
wow. Yeah, he used to be. He started. He was in his teens or like 19 or something. He got started. But listen to this. Oh no, I just lost the thought. Everything we said, but nevertheless, the issue is being forced upon them now. So I don't know if you caught the what is it called? Turning Point USA. There was like this big throwdown between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. They each gave a speech, and they were more or less bickering with not even bickering, fighting with each other about this issue. So Ben Shapiro is very sore about Tucker having platformed, quote unquote, Nick Fuentes. And so this does show that the Zoomer is starting to get traction on the national conversation, and I don't see it lessening. And part of this, just to bring, I've been a big Trump supporter for a long time, but he has so dropped the ball in this H-1B issue that it's hard for me to have warm feelings towards Trump. This was the pivotal issue in my opinion, and he completely fucked it.
I don't. Can I be devil's advocate? I don't know how much of a big deal it is. Because isn't it only something like 80,000 visas a year?
Is it? I don't know the exact numbers, right? I only know my experience. And
you see it particularly bad because of where you are. You're close to Silicon Valley.
Yeah. But we used to have these things, meetups. I think you probably have meetup.com, right? There's tech meetups that would go on in the city, and they would happen Monday through Thursday. So literally you could eat like a king and never have to buy dinner, because you just go to a meetup, listen to a lecture, and eat all this, great food and so forth, and socialize with people, right? And at these things, you could sort of get the measure of the room. And in those days, it was like 50% white, 25% Chinese, and then maybe 25% Indian. And now these
they're all Indian.
What?
Now they're all Indian.
Now they're like 60% Indian, 20% white, and 20% Chinese.
Yes.
I mean, and so that's part one. And I sent you a link about, I wanted to talk about, so there's that one thing, what's it called? Let me pull it up. Chalaki,
Yes,
right?
I saw this.
Exact, right? There's these different cultural traits or practices or understandings that Indians have that we have no clue about. And they are excellent. So you would get, if you were just to sort of believe normie radio or, Trump's talking about we need skilled immigration, so forth, you would think that these Indians are excellent technically. And some of them are, don't get me wrong. But not any more so than your average white person, right? And so why is that important? Because what they are skilled at doing is they have this very polite, deferential, humble way of conducting themselves, right? It's very user friendly and it's very non-threatening. And so they're able to get hold in organizations and get themselves promoted. And when they get themselves promoted, they hire people that aren't going to threaten them. You've heard this discussion, like you've heard this phrase: A's hire A's and B's, and B's hire C's. Right? If you're in a hiring position, it's in your interest to hire somebody less competent than you are. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
you don't want to be upstaged. You don't want the boss to see that somebody can do the work as good as you.
Right. And so if you have people sandbagging, right, if their reputation is perceived as being excellent because they have sometimes forged credentials or inauthentic credentials, or they've leveraged nepotism to get themselves into these places, the incompetence in itself becomes an incentive to even hire even more people, right? And so these B's and C's start hiring D's. And so pretty soon you get an organization that is just crammed with dullards. And they all recognize their own interest is to keep out anybody that could, point out that the emperor has no clothes. And these people that are capable of doing it, the people with the authentic technical skills, are going to be white people, generally from the upper Midwest and generally German extraction.
What about the Anglos? The Anglos used to be the predominant group in America, didn't they? The Germans and the Anglos.
Yeah, Anglos in America, they are, and this is my only criticism of them, so that a lot of them there, they dress well, they present well, they're well manicured, but they don't get into the details of technical topics. They're generally content to follow what's concerned, what the dominant consensus is in the literature, or on Twitter or something. They're not, and there's huge number of exceptions, by the way, and generally, a lot of like the WASPs, the blue blood, the old money here, they're just not used to working hard, and they sort of make a point of not working hard often, at least in my experience. Which is
what about this guy?
Perfect example. Like, they're used to being on top, and Richard doesn't want to go into the weeds, and Richard wants to be entertained. You'll notice that when someone's making a very sincere point, and then Richard will say, "That's boring." Richard does not want to be bored, right? And so he'll talk with you as long as it's interesting. But if what you're saying involves like hard work and is not part of this fantasy, he loses interest. So anyway,
but let's be real, Elliott. You're not bothered about these companies and their bottom line being impacted by, them hiring too many of their friends. It's the transformation of society that's the issue at large, isn't it?
Well, the reason the H1, so a number of things. What I'm really worried about is that these jobs, these tech jobs that the H-1Bs are taking are going to be well-paying jobs that could support a family. It's not like these people are being edged out of Uber Eats delivery jobs. These are jobs that, allow someone to buy a house and raise a family. And so if white people aren't allowed to buy a house and raise a family, there's not going to be another white generation. There's going to be a lot of incels instead.
Well, there already is, for one thing. By the way, I just looked up the number of H-1B visas. I honestly think, whilst it's a problem, I wonder to what extent this H-1B visa issue is a red herring. Now, I'm not attempting to make you get back on the Trump train or anything like that. There's all the problems with that itself. There's many ways we can criticize Trump, but it's capped at 65,000, it says. Then there's 20,000 extra places for people with master's degrees. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't sound like a large number.
Well, okay, I'm not familiar with the numbers, but Matt Forney, he was a frequent guest on Luke's show a number of years ago. I don't know if you follow him or not. He's sort of gone through a transformation of sorts, and he's really dug into the internal nepotism that Indians practice. And
yes, 100%.
So you as an investor, will this impact you directly, your returns? Who knows? We'll never know. But if these companies there's a lot of malinvestment that goes on in Silicon Valley, right? And I think a lot of people that have dumped a lot of money into this AI stuff are going to be in for a reckoning, and it's going to be unpleasant. And like I would be terrified to hold NVIDIA right now, or even Oracle. There's a lot of, not to go into the investment direction too much, but if Claire, you remember Enron? Stephen, you were probably too young at this point.
Too young.
Yeah, but Enron was like this super high-flying company. It gets the similar treatment that NVIDIA is getting now today. And then people started peeling back the layers and figured out, oh, there's a problem here. And the company just collapsed overnight. And many people lost lots of money. So I know it's a boring topic, but malinvestment's a real social problem. And the culture of Silicon Valley, which I think is fueled by cocaine, encourages a lot of malinvestment, because there's just some decisions being made that just seem to be just a bit too hubristic, including, here's where we disagree, the chief, what's the word, Icarus himself, Mr. Musk, who I am becoming really disenchanted with, if not completely.
Sure, look, I get it. I mean, it's just me being Musk maximalist. It's literally, it's about more about the fact that he's a wrecking ball than anything else. He's a wrecking ball like Trump. But let's just get back to the nitty gritty of these H-1B visas.
Yes.
People have identified that I'm cucking because I'm supposed to be the racist on the stream. I've never been a good one. But look, what Trump did, right, with the tariffs and everything, and mainly with the demands for companies to re-onshore manufacturing. He's got an Nvidia, he's got a bunch of companies to bring chip manufacturing, as an example, back to the United States. This doesn't just happen in an instant. In order to do this, they need to literally bring the entire workforce over from where it is, because these are extremely skilled, extremely specialized jobs that take a long time of training. And in 8 months, Nvidia have managed to begin manufacturing chips in 8 months from being asked to do so in the United States. You can't do that with hiring and training on the job. You literally have to get the person who's doing that job in China or India, bring them to the United States and get them active immediately. It's the only way to do it. It's like a warp speed program. You know, people don't want to hear it, but like they did with the vaccines or whatever. You know, it's the only way it can be done.
So you're saying NVIDIA is already manufacturing chips in the US now?
Within 8 months, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, if it weren't for I guess, if it weren't for the sort of the nepotism and the way it's squeezing out the younger people, giving a foothold into the economy, I would be less irate about it, right? And so it does I do sort of, throw them all out. I still overreact emotionally, perhaps. So, but there is a legitimate use for foreign talent, specifically in manufacturing, which the United States has abdicated for the past 30 years. I mean, it's transferred so much manufacturing outside of the States that we've lost the skills, the skills, the sort of hands-on knowledge that allows people to create new factories and so forth. I'm sure it exists and so forth, but the 90s, I think, there was a lot of money to be made in outsourcing stuff in the 90s, and that's why the 90s were such a boom time. But really, that was money that you got from selling off your manufacturing base, and now we want it back. And it's hard. It's very difficult to do once you sold it.
I know you're skeptical about the whole AI thing, but I see this in terms of that we are at a literal turning point in history. The next technology was just invented 3 years ago. It could be the final technology. And we're in an arms race now. Be under no mistake, the arms race is between the United States and China. Of the top 10 AI companies in the world, something like 9 of them are American. This is an arms race between America and China. Trump knows this. Whatever everybody might think of him, like I read Colin Liddell's critiques of Trump, and they are scathing. And he's on our side of the political aisle, and many people are who just are scathing about Trump's economic policies. But I genuinely believe that somewhere somebody, whether it's Trump himself or part of the administration, realizes that this is an arms race, and the people who win it over the next 5 to 10 years will dominate the next century, and it's by any means necessary.
Well, I use AI. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. I think it's a cool technology. But I don't put it in the weapons category like you seem to. I don't see the strategic value the way you seem to see it. So why do you use the term arms race?
Because it could give technological superiority, literally in warfare, to the United States. I imagine. I mean, I'm not the one saying this. I'm just regurgitating what all the top CEOs, Mark Zuckerberg, the Jensen Huang, whatever the Indian guy of Google is called, what all these people are saying is the potential of AI over the coming 5 years. The predictions of AGI potentially within our grasp And if that happens, this is then the self-replicating, AIs that recursively improve themselves rapidly and then become able to advance, science and industries, all on their own at a rapid pace. And whoever develops this particular technology first will dominate.
So China will have better AI slop than the US, and we're going to have this slop differential. We're going to feel inferior. We're going to, they have such good slop. I see AI as advanced searching. I don't see it. So people use this label AI so often and apply it so many different ways. I'm never quite sure what they mean, but it's often applied to like robots. So Elon has these humanoid robots that they're developing, and he says the real value of Tesla is going to be in the production and sale of these robots. And I don't know how much it's going to go for, but I imagine it'd be quite expensive. But even if it wasn't expensive, even if it was $100, do you want a robot kind of clanking around your house? Does this seem like a desirable way to live? I mean, it may be cool in the sort of geek sense, but is this something you really want to live with?
Yes.
Are you serious? Say this is incomprehensible.
I want a robot. Yes, 100%.
Claire, would you like a robot assistant?
What that sort of unpacks the groceries and puts the dishes in the dishwasher without breaking them. I've seen those being advertised.
That'd be amazing.
So you'd like this?
No, I wouldn't like those, but
you'd like it stalking around your apartment. What if it turns on you, Claire?
Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't like one of those, but I think that they're being promoted as something that could help little old ladies who can't do these jobs, right?
So why have children when you can just have your little robot come in and do your nappy?
Well, I mean,
to me, it's so dystopian. I don't even have I don't have the tools. This is like my boomer brain. I can't like.
I mean, this is what the Chinese and Japanese are thinking of doing. They're making these robots to look after their elderly because of their, terrible birth rates. And so the solution seems to be simple. You just restore the patriarchy and you frighten everyone into marrying and becoming responsible married parents again, which is that was always the purpose of religion.
All right, let's bracket this piece and let's just tie this back to, we got on this whole track because we were talking about boomer brain and how narratives get fed into and how investment decisions sort of reflect the overall consensus of the investment community. And what I'm trying to say is that certain narratives that get reinforced over and over and over never get properly vetted. And I think this is an example of such a thing where we're investing a ton of money into a future that people might not actually want. Like, it's nothing I want, obviously. But in another example, like when I see we have Waymos here in the city, these driverless cars, and you could not pay me to get in one of these. Now, is this just, and people celebrate this, that, we're not paying a driver, we're not paying a human being to do some work. We've automated their jobs out of existence. This is hooray. We can't let China get us. So yes, this must happen, right?
Wait, have you not used Waymo?
I've not used one, no. And
I used it in LA. It's amazing. It was amazing. I was blown away, Elliott. Oh my God. It's amazing.
Fair enough.
It's mind blowing.
Okay, so
what did you like about it, Stephen?
That I didn't have to talk to some immigrant driver, or smell him, or tip him, or get ripped off. It was just amazing. You get in, the car says welcome SJJ. There's SJJ flashing on the roof. When it pulls over at the side of the curb, you tap on your phone to unlock it. You get in. It says click start to go. It starts playing some nice elevator music, and it just goes, and it gets you to your destination. You don't have to tip. It's amazing.
Oy vey. We're doomed.
This is the future, though. Come on, this is such a bright future at our fingertips right here. By the way, you were asking, these are just products though that you're looking at and you're
Right.
thinking, I won't use them. You talk about slop, you talk about robots, talk about self-driving cars. You can do without them. I get it, but literally, people predict the development of AGI within our lifetimes. I'm not doing it. It's like Sam Altman. I've just looked up that people's predictions for when it's coming. Sam Altman claims it could arrive by the end of the decade, so by 2030. Elon Musk, well, forget him because he's always
Yes,
bullshits with his
that's a separate
timelines.
conversation in and of itself.
CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, thinks it could be by 2027. Demis Hassabis, CEO of Google DeepMind, has publicly said AGI might be 5 to 10 years away. His estimate is 28 to 2035. Stuart Russell of UC Berkeley puts AGI at 2029 to 2035. Jeffrey Hinton, Turing Award winner, what people call the father of AI, says it could be as soon as 5 years. Jensen Huang predicts AI at least matching or surpassing human performance by 2029. And all along, Ray Kurzweil, the futurist who predicted the singularity ever since like the 1980s, has not changed his date. He's always said all along 2029 was his date, and look where we are.
So what percentage of those people that you've listed are simply talking their book, right? If you're a CEO of an AI company and you're
True.
seeking investment, right, it behooves you to sell this big, elaborate, grand future, right? And that your company is a part of it, making that happen. So the incentives, their incentives aren't journalistic. Their incentives are propagandistic. So, but even if AGI comes about, which I don't believe it can because of the intrinsic nature of computers, as marvelous as AI is to do certain tasks, nothing approaching intelligence can happen because real intelligence is rooted in the human being. It's rooted in biology. It's rooted in psychology, emotions, and so forth. It's a simulacra. It's not real intelligence.
Can I ask you a thought puzzle? A thought, whatever. Here's a thought puzzle problem. Right, at some point, let's think it's 1,000 years in the future, Elliott. Your premise is that it can never replicate human thought, real intelligence, right? That's your premise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, even let's say factor this out to 1,000 years of advancement, right? And or several hundred at least, where we can create individual human neurons. They're simplistic cells within the human brain, and we can replace them with a mechanical one. So you do some surgery and replace out part of your brain, like your optic nerve or something, and you take that surgery, you'd still be you. Well, what if we gradually replaced every single neuron in your brain? At what point and each one was an exact replica of the neuron before, at which point would you stop being you?
Oh, there's like that like if you have a boat and like you replace one boat at a piece of wood at a time.
It's the same analogy.
You still have the boat.
Well, it's like humanity, right? You know,
Well, remember,
each generation is
remember.
different to the previous, but we kind of look humanoid.
Right. Remember, among the three of us, is probably the most woo of those assembled here. So I don't see me as simply being, the functioning of neurons in my brain, right? I have a different model of what a human being is what I think you do. And therefore, you see the advancement of intelligence as simply being a mechanical process, that if you just refine that mechanical process, you'll get something better. And so what I would say is that, and the internet feeds this by it really brings you into your head, into your intellect, and seeing all phenomena as being objects which your intellect can manipulate, and that by manipulating objects, that's what living is, and that's what being is. So I sort of reject the premise because it's not founded in the same model of reality in which I have.
But you get the premise, though, don't you? That if we can replicate
Okay,
a
but
neuron,
let's say you're right. Hello.
yes, you're still here.
Oh, my monitor just cut out. It's back. Okay, sorry. You answer me. Who cares? So we have you're saying that if we replaced all my neurons and all my cells and everything with silicon and
No, one at a
material,
time. If we did it one at a time,
yeah,
would there be one neuron at which point you'd stop being you?
I would slowly become a more degraded version of myself until I was dead.
Talking about degraded versions of oneself, I mean, surely you can apply this model to any country. It's like, there were the founding fathers, the early Americans, and there's Elliott. He's still American, but not the kind of American that maybe, the founding fathers would recognize, or, well, we don't know. Would they be proud of you?
Is that to me? Like,
yes, because I mean, it applies to me and
I am
anyone else.
I am a degraded
From
version
an
of my
ancient society, civilization. What have we become? Would our ancestors be proud or ashamed of us? So that's just that's what I'm trying to ask, really.
That's a different question to what we were trying to get at, though. Like, is Elliott the sum of his parts, or is he more than that? Elliott has a philosophical view. It's a spiritual view, in fact, that you are more than the sum of your parts, correct?
Yes. And in fact, your parts, what you identify as being you, aren't you. They're the sort of, you're in a life raft. Here's the analogy I'll use. You're in a life raft in a turbid ocean, right? And this life raft called your body is actually keeping you alive, right? It's keeping you present. And you eventually over time come to identify with your life raft, and you've lost track of you because your consciousness is so fully immersed in maintaining and protecting the body that you lose the forest for the trees. And the single tree is your body. Does that make any sense? Or is that just too woo?
No, I get it.
So you're talking about the immortal soul, it sounds like, Elliott.
Yeah. Well, what religions would call the immortal soul, yes. Remember, I'm woo.
Yeah, well, Buddhists believe in it too.
Woo. What? Yeah, all religions believe in some version of this, and they use different language about this, and they have different metaphors and similes and so forth. But these are, I try not to use religious language because it turns into tribal warfare. And so I really don't want to, I recognize what wars are winnable and what aren't. And a religious conversation is not winnable. So I don't engage. I don't contend with it.
You're not going to defend your concept of the immortal soul?
Well, it's not my concept. It's a lot, it's time honored, if that has any value for you. And
There's no evidence of it, though.
there is evidence, but it's not evidence that's freely given. So it's like if I say the top of Mount Everest has a diamond necklace, right? And then I assert this, right? And you say, well, there's no evidence of this. And then so you would be like, well, give me the diamond necklace. Well, no, it's the product of a lot of hard work, right? Upstream. Life is an upstream, uphill battle. And you don't just get what you want because you want it. Some things you actually have to earn and strive for and eventually may get. So this is sort of this high dopamine addicted culture that just wants instantaneous results, and they want push button gratification, and they are completely divorced from any idea of struggle and any idea of merit and worthiness. And so the insights, religious insights or spiritual insights, are the fruit of often a lot of arduous struggle. And the most important struggle is, of course, to develop a good character, right? And that is just not an exciting topic. That would bore Richard Spencer, because good character development, is hard work. Real things require real work, and this is sort of the core of my view.
Don't you think that's a cope? Don't you think you're regurgitating a lot of what society wants you to be? Hate to use the phrase, be a good guy, Elliott.
It's really sad that you see it this way, and the fact that this is the nub. This is the nub of the problem, like the deep problem, is that so few people are even aware of the woo, right? And most people, like if you'd go to like a traditional, not today's China, but like a China of way back or an India of way back, sort of classical antiquity, your pursuit of this esoteric knowledge was why you got up in the morning. And all these other economic considerations for just maintaining your body were just secondary. You did them only to the extent that you needed to do them, but it's not what you were interested in. And so because you had access, because you had this vision and you had people, teachers with this vision that could demonstrate really amazing things, you believed because you had someone who could demonstrate this. But those people, these skilled people, are far and fewer between because there are more people and we're in a degenerate age. We're in the Kali Yuga, as people like to say, but it's never gone away. It's never not been the case. It's just the question of the density of such people. So does that make sense?
Look, I don't know how harsh I want. Do you want me to give you some real pushback?
I can take anything, bro. Go for it.
So, it sounds like so much cope. And basically what you're saying is there's no evidence for it, but I have this like a warm feeling about it all, and there's no evidence that I can point to about it. But people have been conning people for years about this kind of stuff, and therefore, it's let's just believe in it.
Yeah,
like there's literally no evidence to go. There's no evidence.
By no means do I want to be seen as evangelizing, right? Mm-hmm. What I'm saying, I'm trying to describe my worldview, and it either resonates. You were using this phrase with Jord the other day. It sort of lit. What was it like? Lit the worm, or got the figment of the brain. Yeah, it sort of just kind of ignited the brain worm in the background, that's the only thing I would ever hope to do. But I'm not actively doing that. I'm just trying to explain how I see the world, but to a degree why I see the world that way. But there is no, if you're talking about sort of traditional modes of argumentation and evidence, I've got nothing. Right?
So again, not to be harsh, but it is just like a gut feeling.
Well, then again, I've had my own experience, and so that I believe was not a gut feeling. And so I've had plenty of gut feelings, believe me. But if you're asking me what underlies why I think the way I do, I can point to things. But there's nothing, what was it? There's this, I think the Taoists have an expression. It's pronounced Taoist, not Taoist, Claire. The T is a D. Okay?
She should know that.
You should know that much, Claire. The
family's Taoist.
So the general term as translated is called, what I'm talking about is called the way, capital T, capital W. It's not called God. It's not called Allah. It's not called Yahweh. It's called the way in Taoism. And the phrase goes something like, if the way could be, he who speaks does not know, who knows does not speak. That's probably the most famous. But if the way could be given, who would not give the way to their brother? Who would not just give it away freely to their family and their friends, right? It can't be. It just, what you're asking for, the evidence that you're asking for, it just doesn't exist in the form that you are able to receive it. So you need to turn on a different channel. This is, Elliott took too much acid. I've never done acid. I have done mushrooms. But they have no part in, but you know what? Mushrooms would actually give you a little bit of a pointer to what I'm saying. But I'm not advocating that because I think people are just way too casual about how they treat drugs. But if you were sincerely that curious and you were interested in obtaining some evidence in the way that Stephen's asking for, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
What I would say is I have experienced, if you're asking me to experience a woo state, I've never experienced drugs. So literally straight edge, if anybody doesn't realize that. So don't drink, don't take drugs. So I've not experienced these altered states. And I'm not suggesting you're telling me about an altered state on drugs or anything like that. But what I have experienced...
what I'm talking about is actually very... Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have experienced what the Buddhists would call one of the low states of samadhi, which is the flow state via exercise, intense physical training, where everything, suddenly you just enter into this state which feels like a mystical experience, where you hit every hit, every kick, every punch, everything connects, and you're in this zone that is fleeting, and you don't know how you accessed this level, but somehow you did. And once you've done that, you're like, you always want to find that again.
Okay, that's interesting that you say that, because that's sort of what I'm pointing at. I think that in like Chinese martial arts, I think it's called Zhang Ding, I think. I forgot the actual term. But that's the phrase they use, I think. I'll send you a link on it. But you have this, which is at least, which is, technically is not what I'm pointing at, but it's, at the doorstep. I'm debating whether or not to describe my experience or not, because...
Do it. Oh, let's hear it. We all want to hear it.
Weird. How many people are watching? I don't really want to
It's only 32.
Oh God, it's probably too many. All right, so I'll tell you about my experience. So, like 30 years ago, I guess, there's sort of a little mini recession going on, and I probably told this actually somewhere. Anyway, 30 years ago, dead broke. I mean, dead broke. Like how am I going to just pay the basics and not be homeless, right? And and there was no app that I could just turn on and get a job. It was like you had to go there, knock on the door, talk to the person, say, "Hey, you got a job," so forth. The networking process is a lot more inefficient. So, but we did have temp agencies, and so I was applying for this temp agency downtown to just be some sort of office drone, and I didn't get the job. So and this was like sort of my last Hail Mary, and I thought I'd get it and I didn't get it, so I go there and just didn't click with the people, and I was fucked. I got out of the building. Now what I do, right? And so there's like a Buddhist temple downtown, and I'd always used to go there and just read the literature that was on the pasted to the outside windows and so forth. And because this is a Hail Mary, I have nothing else to do here. So I go up there and I talk to the woman. I'm cutting out big pieces of the story, and I talk to the woman at the desk, and she asked me if I want to give a stick of incense to the Buddha, offer an incense to the Buddha, which she then handed to me. She handed me the incense. Not like I was out of pocket or anything. Like I didn't even have money for fucking incense, So. So she hands me incense. We go back. She takes me to this altar, and she's like, "Okay." No, and I say, "Well, what do I pray for?" Right? and she says, "Pray that your compassion will be that of the Buddha." Right? And I said,
Okay,
I'll do it. So, I get the incense, I pray, I bow, and so forth. And that's that. I leave, say my goodbye, and so forth, thank her, and so forth. And so then and this is in Chinatown, San Francisco. I know you don't know the specific geographic characteristics, but it was also around this time. It was around Christmas time. And so there's one street called Grant Street, which is sort of the main tourist street that is just jammed with people, and they have bags and they're buying all kinds of presents and so forth. And I'm walking down the street and I start looking at people as I'm walking, and I'm passing them, and they all look to be completely asleep, like zombies. And I'd read about this. They just seem to be people that are just walking through and being very mechanical and just not present in their lives. And they just seem to be sort of walking dead. So I'm walking down this street and just seeing these people asleep. And like my world is just sort of changing. Things are just, my perceptions are changing really radically. And I'm starting to feel really good and at ease. Remember, I was wound up and tense and fretting. It's something like this peace and ease just comes over me, just like real peace, real ease. And it felt like it was just coming from without. So it's not like, oh, my mood just changed. There was like this sort of.
hello? We'll never know. We'll never know what happened when the piece was coming down. Unless it's me that's lost connection. Are you there, Claire?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. The piece was just about to come all over Elliott, and then we lost him.
Perhaps he'll come back. I think we have better Wi-Fi than the Americans.
Yeah, I think so too. Elliott, you're frozen. I'm writing in chat.
Well,
He's dropped out. Okay. He'll be back.
Elliott had a spiritual experience, and that seems to have convinced him that God exists. But then we can have spiritual experiences.
No, not God. Not God. I mean,
Well, you know what? I think Buddhists are missing a trick, because it's not logical to believe that we're going to get justice and we're going to be reincarnated into a better life if we've been good boys and girls, and reincarnated into a worse life if we've been naughty boys and girls. I mean, somebody's got to do it. It doesn't automatically happen, does it? So it's
Well,
illogical to think it can be done without some, supreme administrator.
but do you want to know the answer to that? What like the Buddhist at the heart of Buddhist belief is? Do you want to know? Do you know?
Well, actually,
Do you want to know the secret, Claire? Is everybody
I
ready for the
actually
secret?
do, because I've had a conversation with Elliot about this, because we do argue from time to time, and I said, well, you're missing a trick, aren't you? If you're Buddhist and you believe in the afterlife, but you don't know how it's going to happen, and then I pointed out to him that Buddhism is basically codified Hinduism, i.e., Hinduism with rules and principles, and then he was reduced to saying it must be Lord Yama of the underworld who takes care of this stuff.
No, the
So he hasn't
secret.
really got it.
The secret at the heart of Buddhism. If you're standing up, sit down, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm about to reveal it to you right here. The secret is that you are God.
How did you find that out?
I'm back. Sorry. Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
Elliot. You're back. We
Just
got
was
to the
giving you
point.
climax. This is
You
a
felt
sign.
the
This is a sign I
wave.
shouldn't be talking about this.
You felt this wave coming over you,
Yeah.
and
And the key point I want to make, just emphasize, is that it wasn't a temporary blip. This lasted for hours. This was like a whole new worldview, and that I could live in it if I wanted to, but it was like it would meant all my previous aspirations and things I wanted and so forth would have to disappear. And so eventually I decided I didn't want to live that way. I wanted my old life back. And it sort of pushed this awareness back out of the frame. And I became me with my sort of narrow goals again. But this was only my experience. And so I don't believe so there's no way I could convince you of this, right? And you have it, you believe it's true, and therefore make changes in your life. That's just not, it's an impossibility. But if you want that, this is as close as I could come to sort of offering evidence. But ultimately, you're right; it's subjective, and we've denied the subjective completely because we all want to be galaxy brained, we want to be rational, and we want to suppress this ego denying part of life, because ultimately it's the ego that sort of crowds this experience out. Like there's an expression, so in some language they say this is the experience of the self, right? The big self, right? The way is that, as the self advances, as the mind, meaning the ego advances, the self retreats. As the ego retreats, the self advances. And that's all I really have to say on the subject. So, but from that day forward, there was no more mystery for me about this type of stuff. I wasn't on the fence anymore. It was like, oh, this is real. This is part of life. You can engage with it if you want to.
did you inhale the incense?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And then shortly after, you went wandering with a warm feeling and a glow.
yeah, okay, but so AI could never even approximate that. So let's just get back to our main topic here. Like AI is, it's just another way of distilling information. But
Just
there's
just
an
a
aspect
minute.
of life that's not about information. That's what I'm trying to say.
I want to hammer you down on this spirituality though. Do you believe I was just before you came. I revealed to Claire Cole what the secret at the heart of Buddhism is, which the Buddhists believe that you are God. Is that what you believe? Fundamentally, that you are just like if you had done any listening to Alan Watts, this is where I get this from. Then he explains it as in at the heart of Buddhism, the belief is that just like you have a billion nerve endings in your body, and each one has its own has its own sensory parts and experience in the world, but is part of a greater whole, that you are God experiencing itself in one of the many facets that God is choosing to do so in this reality. Elliott's he's frozen again. I can't believe it. I was talking to a frozen man. I thought he was just engrossed in my analogy.
Transfixed. What you seem to be describing, Stephen, is narcissism. You're worshipping yourself, but this is basically what atheists do. They worship their own opinions, right?
I'm not saying I believe in this. I'm saying this is the secret at the heart of Buddhism. It's the explanation as it's the explanation of everything, the heart of everything. That you are God. It's like even Bill Hicks gave the hippie version of this. Bill Hicks quote.
The comedian, in case
Yeah.
people don't know who he is, who died of lung cancer or throat cancer.
Yeah, where he said, and this is Elliott, right? I'm going to this is Bill Hicks here is describing Elliott. He said, "Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves."
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it has a certain plausibility of it. I used to think maybe we're sort of God, and then he got bored with everything, knowing everything, and he thought, I'm just going to kind of forget that I'm God, and I'm just going to break myself into, countless pieces of things, and then slowly over time put myself together again. Because some people, deliberately forget things, to get
Then you're a
the
Buddhist.
but then I think the Abrahamic God is more useful as a social than political
Because
project.
fundamentally, the Buddhists believe that the Buddha is you in the highest form. You are the Buddha is the secret at the heart of Buddhism. You are the Buddha.
What does Elliott think? If he's capable of speaking to us from his world or his, dimension. He seems a little silent. Oh yes, we hear something now.
Elliot, you're in the nether realm. You've taken
Hello?
over. We can barely hear you.
Listen, the power went out in my building, and I'm on my phone.
It's okay. It's quite good, actually.
Okay, so I don't know if it's just a breaker or if it's the whole building, but that's what was going on. So,
do you feel like you
hopefully-
want to continue, or
I can continue if the quality is okay, but it's up to you.
it's quite good?
Yeah, we could hear you. It was better than the last guy, Stephen. It was good. It drove me mad.
Yeah, I had no choice but to persevere.
Yeah, the audio is good. Continue, Elliot.
Okay.
So Elliot,
More,
do you,
one more
the
indignity
se-
after.
the secret at the heart of Buddhism is that you are God experiencing Himself.
Is that the secret? Um,
Pretty much.
More or less. I mean, people phrase it that way. I've heard that a lot. But
Yeah, everybody is that. All life, that the whole universe is, this self. As Bill Hicks put it, before you came back, I read the Bill Hicks quote that today a young man on acid, this is you, realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves.
yes, that's a nice expression. Yes, it's expressed many different ways and so forth. Uh, but just to talk about it, it just casts you and puts you in this
This is the old
dun-
mystery school understanding. This is the old secrets passed down through the ages until the Abrahamics came along and said, no, you get down on your knees and you worship one God, and he has a name and a face, and he exists outside of time and reality, and he has all these weird rules that he demands that you follow. Like, he cares about your intricate sex life, and he wants this and that from you, and really arbitrary things.
Here, I'm walking through the building. I'm just trying to figure out if it's my apartment or the whole building.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to go this far with this because I become very inarticulate and silly. It is a neighborhood outage. All right. Whew. I thought I didn't pay the bill or something. Has that ever happened to you? Like you have stuff on auto pay and then the card expires, your power goes out. Anyway.
Claire's correct. She says you
about electricity.
You Americans have such terrible services compared to us. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever experienced a power outage.
Really?
Ever.
We've had
in
a
my
spate
life.
of earthquakes. We've had about a dozen or so little earthquakes.
Excuses.
Well, you know what it is. We have this, DEI inspired, this DEI populated civil service that runs everything, and they're not known for their efficiency. They have Ugandan levels of efficiency. Do I have to start throwing the food out now, or what?
Just keep the fridge door shut to keep the cold in.
Yeah. Oh, really? It's funny. Just as soon as I start talking to all this woo stuff, the power goes out. So you didn't read? Should I read now? This is a part of me that I would like read some sort of divine lesson in.
It was when I was saying, it's crazily when I was saying, show me a sign. Give me a sign.
Yeah, the sign was, don't listen to Elliott.
And then Elliott dropped out.
Yeah. Well, that's not enough for you, huh? But anyway, these martial arts not lessons, but this training you did, it comes from Thailand, right? But does this
what do you mean it comes from Thailand? It's a Thai martial art, yes.
Yeah, but does it trace its origin to other sort of Chinese martial arts? Or is it just something that its true origins aren't really known?
Its true origin, I used to know the story. It goes back to some king, some dispute, I think, between Thailand and Cambodia or something, and some guy who, I don't know the story. It goes back to the roots are in Thailand, where some guy demonstrated this art form for some king or something. But yeah, the roots of Muay Thai are in Thailand.
But how old is it? Is it hundreds of years or thousands of years? Or
I don't know the answer to that. I could ask ChatGPT. I could consult the AI.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And age. What is the origin of Muay Thai and age? It originates, it's one of the oldest continuously practiced striking martial arts. Developed as a battlefield fighting system when weapons were lost or impractical, emphasizing efficient, brutal strikes. From like 1300 to from about 1300, particularly under this king who was said to be a skilled fighter. It's generally considered to be 700 to 1,000 years old.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious. But I think all of these systems ultimately originate in China. Because there's all forms of martial arts, the famous, Shaolin and so forth. There's monastery. They all come out of sort of a monastic scene, and where fighting and martial arts training was seen as a very viable way towards exploring spiritual insight. It was not separated the way we think of it, because it involves like whole body integration. You have to you have to be fit as hell for one thing. All your channels have to be open, to really see what's being spoken about. You need like a strong foundation of cultivation.
I think there's quite a difference between, whilst they're called martial arts and martial is like of war fighting, there's a big difference between like some of them which are like Tai Chi or the yogic aspects of them, which are designed around spiritual enlightenment. Can you hear me? Elliott can't hear me. Hello, can you hear me?
You're back now. All right. So are we under attack? Is there a war going on or anything? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Do you want me to check the news? Are you worried?
I'm worried. Like, first it's the internet, then it's the power, and now the phone is dropping. No,
there's no headlines.
With that?
There's no headlines.
Okay.
Russia has not invaded.
Okay.
You're okay.
Okay, for now, anyway. And then I get all these text messages informing me that my internet, my power's out, as if I needed to know that.
Anyway, there's a difference. I was saying there's a difference between these martial arts, which are basically spiritual enlightenment through physical endurance. That there's things like Tai Chi and yogic practices, which are designed to raise you to what is known as like this, they call it this lowest level of samadhi, this enlightenment level that can be attained through physical practice, and then the rest is cerebral. But so there's these yogic practices and what they call martial arts designed to get you to that stage. But the other things like Muay Thai, these are just like war fighting techniques of hand-to-hand combat.
Hey guys,
you have to go. I understand, Elliott, don't you? You're in a panic.
I'm distracted right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting other messages that I might have to attend to. I hate to go out in such a ignominious.
It's okay. You can go.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for coming on SJJMAS 2025. Right. You made it.
All right. Thank you. Thanks. I wish I could have performed better.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks here. Bye, Claire. Bye, Stephen.
Bye,
Elliott.
Bye.
Claire, do you have anything to add?
Well, I didn't mention secular Quranism and the Abrahamic moral system, which is clearly superior to that of the Eastern religions, because the Abrahamic God is so much scarier than this vague idea that we might be reincarnated into a worse or better place. When there's no scary, you know, divinity to do all that. And this, I think, explains the power of the Abrahamic religions because of its supreme Abrahamic God. And this is something I think people who want improvement in the morals of their ruling classes should take note.
That
Do
was
you
beautiful.
disagree?
Yes, I do. Yes, probably. Yeah, probably disagree. Um, yeah, I don't want to do, like I've said in another stream, I don't want to stop anybody. I don't want to take belief away from anybody. If you've got that, that's a good place to be. If you believe in a higher power, it can be very motivating for you. Clive says, my last stream was excellent. Oh, somebody gave me some money earlier, which I've asked you not to do, but
It's great reverse psychology, isn't it? Don't give me any money, people. Just don't even think
no,
about giving me any money.
I mean it sincerely. I want people to invest in themselves this year. SJJ, was the ghost of woes intentionally giving a friendly representation of woes? If so, did he have a simpish admiration of woes to the level of homosexuality? Look, he clearly was a friend. He clearly was a friend of woes. He did not want to go. He did not want this in order to do the stream and get the law. I didn't know where it was going to go. I thought it would be worth doing because this is law that has not been put out there before, so it's a scoop at the end of the day, no matter what. And in order to do that, we agreed not to go too far on woes. Not to just like flay woes open, and so. It would basically allow people to draw their own conclusions. I just wanted to just peel open whatever information he had to provide based upon his knowledge of woes, and let people draw their own conclusions.
Do you have any
It was a scoop, though,
advice?
wasn't it?
Yes, it was, but I suppose ultimately,
Shame about the sound.
yeah, that was so annoying. But I mean, what have you concluded from it? Do you think there's something that Woe should be doing that he isn't doing that you'd like him to do?
I mean, what do I? I'm a completely different person to character to woes. Fundamentally, I'll be honest, brutally honest, because I'm now just here with you. We can just be brutally honest. I look down upon people who are. I can't help it. It's like a hierarchical thing. This is my right wing belief system imposing itself upon my views. I look down upon people who, beg for things off others. I think it's a weak position to be. I can't admire it as a personality trait. I think it's, destructive to the soul and the character if you beg from others. And fundamentally, I understand that's the place that he's in, but fundamentally, when you're doing this, and he does do it with, like openly. Help me, the situation's desperate. This type of thing. I think man up, do what I did. That you have access to shit on your phones, but you probably think you're above it. There's infinite work available on your phones at a minimum wage. If you need it, man up. Take agency over your own life and do something about it.
Begging is a trade. There are ways of doing it well. And, the internet has enabled quite a few people to do a rather sophisticated form of begging. that
But it
gratifies its, donors even.
but it's corrosive to the soul.
Yeah.
You
Do
know,
you
and
think if you were ever as well known as Woes, would you kind of feel bound to protect your channel and gatekeep, and perhaps you already do?
well, and so I mean, I think I speak my mind. I'm being absolutely honest about anything. If anybody's asking me questions, I'm being honest about them and giving my honest opinions. I try to, I ask people to try and avoid saying the N word and shit like that on the channel, and if whatever, I ask people to try and abide by the rules of YouTube to not get the channel taken down and shit like that. But we don't. I've never told anybody there's a topic they can't talk about.
But there's certain people you wouldn't be seen to be
Oh, you
having
mean
entertainment.
you asked me about Alison Chablas?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I said at this stage in my career, I don't think I want to associate with, like, extremely high profile Holocaust deniers. What does that make me, a cuck?
Well,
I just don't want the
if
eye
Nick
of Sauron.
Fuentes
I
decided
don't want the
to
eye of
grace your,
Sauron on me, and I'm not in. I don't have any interest in that stuff.
but you
Somebody
talk
else
to
has
these
sent me
people.
money. What the fuck? Don't send me money. Invest in yourself. How
Well,
clear could this be? Stop.
don't
Stop
send
this nonsense.
any money either.
Stop this nonsense. Thank you, but stop. Seriously, that's £10 that you could have invested in your children, dude. What's wrong with you?
Well, I found it liberating. You may know I was briefly monetized and then I was demonetized, and I thought, great.
Yeah.
Because I just hated the sort of feeling like, what if I lost my monetization? And oh, should I, watch what I say? And I sort of tried in a way, and anyway, it didn't work. So I found, liberating.
Yeah. I mean, monetization's on my channel for the like you are capped as for views. You are prevented, and your reach is, or so they say, your reach is prevented because if you're not monetized, because YouTube won't has
Won't
no
promote you.
incentive. Yeah.
Yeah, they only want to promote monetized people.
Well, why would they share a video that they're not going to get a advert, that they're not getting an advert on, because there's no incentive to do it. So you're simply out of the algorithm if you don't have the monetization turned on. So it's turned on for when I do my videos, because I'd quite like those to get the reach. But for each of these streams, I've not even clicked the button to turn on the monetization. Any of them this time. So the whole of SJJMAS is unmonetized.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, personally, I've been, put in positions where I thought, if I want to keep this thing that they're offering me, I just have to shut up, and I couldn't. I couldn't. So
Yeah. I think it's other people that have got your channels nuked, to be honest. You've entertained crazy people like that. Sam.
Yeah, but he was interesting because, I think, he was obviously suffering from some kind of mental illness. And a lot of these mental illnesses is this compulsion to speak your mind. And maybe it affects all of us. We just think, oh, it's just a matter of degree. I know to shut up about this. I know to shut up about that. I don't feel the need to say this. But,
But when you're openly advocating the genocide of people, you can't do that on a YouTube channel.
Was he? I suppose I'm so used to people like that.
Yeah,
But
it's just
I mean,
insane.
the impression I got was that he was predicting the coming of the Messiah and all those people who were going to get, executed because the Messiah
Yeah,
was
reveling
coming.
in
I mean,
it.
that was the only thing I could remember about him. And when he was getting excited, there would be people banging on his door telling him to keep it down or shut up and stuff like that. And his son would come in and hit him with a balloon or something.
What's this? Who's Robert Farrison? Is that true?
Okay, it's this Frenchman who no, of course not, because if Alison were being, it's one of those crazy things that people say. I mean, if you look him up, you look him up on Wikipedia, and then look at his death, and then just see if Alison was
Well, why
mentioned.
does David think that she did it? What's the story? What's the backstory?
I can't even remember. She did tell me it was something to do with he went to this meeting and Alison was there and then he had to go home on his own and he had a heart attack and died on the way. I think I may have forgotten. I don't know, but okay, I'll look it up.
Death by a good time. Is that what happened?
Yeah. I mean, that is the trouble with people who are in these circles. They have their kind of rival versions of
Well, let's answer
positions
some
to
of
take
these
on
questions.
Jews, right? So he died in Vichy, France, in October 2018. So let's go right down to how he died. So he was granted an award of courage in Tehran, Iran, and then it doesn't say how he died. Let me. Okay, I'm speed reading a bit. Sorry. It doesn't say anything about
Okay.
Alison killing
Well,
him. Sorry,
maybe she-
people.
Maybe she gave him a good time on the way home and he died with a smile on his face. I don't know what David's alleging. Clive Bigsby thought the last stream was excellent. Okay, good. I did my best within the boundaries of whatever, what I could. When is Lord Thomas on? I don't think he wants to come on. I did him. I mean, I invited Thomas last year. He said no. I asked him if he wanted to go on Claire's show, and his answer to that was that he doesn't want to do anything this year. So I took that as don't bother me, please. So I'm not doing that. I'm not bothering anybody who doesn't want to be on this year. I barely invited anybody, and I've already done one every day so far. Will Brutus be on SJJMAS? Tomorrow I am doing Anglo Gang.
Oh, good.
At 7
so
p.m.
You're finally back with them.
So I might rebroadcast it to my channel. I don't know. But either way, I'll be over there on Brutus's channel. Alfred, the Invincible.
Yes, he's been doing quite a few things on things I'm actually interested in about Locke and the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. And today there was something. I can't remember what it was offhand, but yes, it was of interest. He does read, which is nice.
Oh, David says no. Alison was banned for Hope Not Hate. Alison was banned from a meeting and got Hope Not Hate to attack the meeting in revenge. He died of a heart attack the next day, so it's a more serious claim.
Well, they're going to be finding it
Stress.
hard to prove causation. I think.
Is it true that Woves lives with Alison in the same house? Yes. That is true. Whether it's... Do you know if they still live together, Claire? You don't want to say.
It's a. I think there is access, but
It's called the Nazi house.
Rose has moved out.
It's called the Nazi house.
It's it's surprising how much how little politics is is discussed really. At the end of the day, people just have their positions to take, and don't really talk that much about these things. Yeah.
It's not a crime.
I mean, from the first time you were looking at the first the AMA, and you could tell, I mean, he said, "Oh, look, I've just moved in," right? That was
But you remember, Claire, it's not a crime.
With Alison Chasblas, the Nazi, she gets a Holocaust denier, which is the worst, a Nazi sympathiser, and sings songs and thinks it's
not a crime.
It's not a crime. It's a crime.
It's not.
It's not a... There's Claire Court, wild Claire Court appears.
so annoying, that stupid man with his
With his Star of David balaclava on.
Those were
You met the
days.
final boss. Yeah, so I think we've answered all the questions. This was Elliott's stream. I feel bad, but he had to drop out. But
Well, we
What can we do?
discussed quite a number of things, spiritual and political and generational. And we did
Yes.
learn a few things about American media, like National Public Radio,
yeah,
and the people who
I've
like
got-
to listen to it.
I've got Jay coming on Monday at 8 p.m. When was I? You just plonked me in at a time at some point on. I think it was the 23rd. Might have to rearrange
Do you
that.
think do you think you might like to change it?
I'm just looking at my calendar now.
Well, you can tell me later what if you need.
Okay,
to change it.
23rd is Tuesday. I still have nothing planned for Tuesday, so
Okay.
we might do Tuesday.
Alrighty, let's do Tuesday.
Okie dokum. Right,
Okay.
I think we're done, everyone. It's been fun. Thank you to Claire and Elliott for coming on.
Thank you for
Any
having
last-
me.
Any last words?
Secular Quranism available on Amazon would make a perfect Christmas present, particularly to people who are not quite sure about their position on Sharia for non-Muslims. So here's a stocking filler idea.
Beautiful. Okay, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you all for coming. Tomorrow, Anglo Gang, 7 p.m. Might not be rebroadcast on this channel. I'll think about it. See if Brutus wants me to do that or not. We'll do a joint thing. Make it SJJMAS number 9 if so. Otherwise, that's it. And I'll see you in the next one.
And like us, Mr. Shelby, always be alone. The love we get, we will have to pay for it.
Good night.